trouble. Welcome to Hawaii's Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on just a second while I tune my guitar. Never put new strings on your guitar the day before you're about to play it live. Forget that part of the show for today, shall we? My Lord. I'm sitting here working and I didn't realize we're about to go on the air. And my guitar's out of tune. Welcome to the show. Aloha. Hope you caught yesterday's show. Very, very big week here. All the way from the GMO. Of course, yesterday people are putting cell phone towers wherever they care to due to laws that allow that to occur. And we heard from folks on the island of Kauai that are protesting the idea of an 80-foot tower going in their backyard, whether or not health benefits as well as bringing down property values, etc. We also talked something about GMO. GMO's been a big subject on the show recently, and it will continue to be so. Today's show, before I introduce my guest, I'm going to do a little review, but we will be doing the Roger Christy case from a different point of view than you've been hearing on my show. Most recently, I think, what have I done? 8 shows on the travesty of justice and him being in prison for almost 3 years now with no bail and no trial. We're about to hear from an independent analyst, so I'll introduce him soon, who's done all the homework to tell us and put it better into perspective from what he's learned. Before I go there, let me touch one more time on the solar reform. Legislators failed to reform solar tax credit. For the second straight years, lawmakers failed. Key word here, failed. Okay, failed. I don't really care why. You guys can't get it together and kumbaya when you're all Democrats? What do you want? You got one more today. Guy switched horses. Rivera, I think, became a Democrat. You got one Republican in the whole bloody Senate. And you guys can't pass bills. You fight. You fight over everything. I told you, somebody give me the money so I don't have to win the lottery. I can get the hell out of here and quit this. This grand experiment. You want to see a GMO experiment? They come to Hawaii and they do whatever they want. And they experiment on the land and the water and the ocean and each other and all the people. I feel like a GMO experiment. I'm here in this chair. I'm getting bombarded day after day, year after year, forced fed an education. I feel like one of those Guantanamo Bay guys. I want to quit eating, but they won't let me. They just keep shoving it down my throat. Okay, let's look at it. Right here in the newspaper yesterday, GMOs can ease food shortages. And this guy, I called him up. He told me, so first of all, he writes a letter to the bloody editor which says, modification of foods is ancient to mankind. This is the same pablum that these GMOs people have been passing out forever. We're going to solve the world's problems. We don't do anything different than what you've been doing for thousands of years. And they say, this guy says, they may have good intentions, the people who don't like GMO, but display scientific ignorance. There is nothing mysterious or evil about GMO. So I called him up, couldn't get him on the show. He called me after, and I said, well, what's going on? You're a doctor? What kind of doctor? I'm a surgeon for ophthalmology. He's an eye surgeon. Okay, so I was hoping he was going to say some kind of dietary doctor. No, he's an eye surgeon. He said, well, you know what? He goes, well, I really don't know too much about it. And I was polite enough not to say, then why are you writing a bloody letter to the editor? Here's another one. This people wrote in, avoid Roundup Ready. Simply, if GMO foods are labeled, we can choose whether we want them or not. Give me a break. Should Monsanto be allowed to sue seed savers? I don't know if you folks understand this. We'll get into it later, but they're cornering the market on seeds. We're going to hear from the fellow Dave brought up this, and I heard about it. 200,000 farmers in India commit suicide
since 1997.
Since 97, due to the fact that they couldn't afford to plant the next crop due to all this brand new, we're going to save the world with GMOs. And here's how you solve your problem, ladies and gentlemen. You get an education, and I've started a brand new program. As you know, I'm running for governor under a legalized pot, legalized gay marriage, and abolition of the Jones Act. And here's my campaign platform. No rich child left behind. We will not let the rich children be left behind in their education. We will insist that parents pay for them to go to private school and give them a real education, because if they send in my school, you're in deep, deep kimchi coming out with a real education. Okay, I think I feel better. Yeah, I'm your solar guy, Jeff Davis. You know, the biggest solution to everybody's problem is the word aloha. I'm turning it into actual practice. So let's take a deep breath. Let me introduce my guest today. Independent research analyst, Brant Kelsey. Brant, welcome back to Hawaii's Tomorrow.
Thanks, Jeff.
You've done work here before on the Jones Act, among other things. And then again, I know you've got a blog. Can we talk about that?
No need.
Okay, yep. So but I've seen your stuff. You contacted me because once in a while you get wind of what I'm doing here. You may not listen to the show, but you hear about it roundabout ways. You heard I was doing a lot of Roger Christy cases. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And then, of course, there was the two resolutions put forth by senators to have him released on bail.
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of talk about the
There's a lot of hysteria surrounding
hysteria,
Christy.
a witch hunt. We're going to get Roger because of all the things he's done, including sued the police, sued the mayor's office, advocated, blah, blah, blah. You know, supposedly he has pissed off the wrong people, and now they're coming for their pound of flesh.
Basically, he's broken the law.
Okay, so you again are a research analyst, and again I'll mention the blog because it sums it up. Avowed seeker of truth. You're a seeker of truth.
Absolutely.
Let's get a few things straight. What do you think about the idea that anybody's in prison for marijuana?
I think it's absurd.
You want to elucidate a little bit on that?
Well, the basic premise, I think, is that the government, the state, shouldn't be impinging upon the liberties of anyone unless they can show a compelling interest in that particular person is causing actual harm. The prohibitions against marijuana, against drugs in general, have made us all far more safer, far less safer than if the behavior had just been allowed to exist unfettered by the state.
Right. In other words, should people have used it to relieve stress, as we are?
We've built an entire industry, a giant monolithic industry built on the back of drug offenders. We've got the prison industrial complex. We have courts and stenographers. Piss test people. It's just a giant industry. And of course we know that in the government, what talks is money. Those with the largest coffers have the largest voice. And so it's about the reason that we have a legislature that is completely incapable of legislating regarding decriminalization, regarding guns, regarding the basic labeling of a GMO or a genetically engineered product, when everybody is entitled by right to know what they're ingesting. This is not an optional thing. Food is not something that you can do without.
Bottom line, please. The bottom line is that
anyway,
nobody should be in jail for marijuana.
No one should be in jail for marijuana.
All right, now, why did the Roger Christy issue become such a button topic to you? And explain to you, why are you here today?
I'm here today because I want to provide as much information as I possibly can about topics that I know about. And when it comes to the GMOs, I'd like to motivate the people in your listening audience not to necessarily ascribe to anything I might say, but to definitely, this is one of the most important issues in these
We're going to go there on the second half of the show. Keep it to the Roger Christy. I beg your pardon, wasn't specific. Why are you here in regards to Roger Christy?
I was here, the Christy case interested me because virtually everywhere I looked and everything that I read, the inference was that this human being who's in prison was being denied fundamental constitutional rights to a speedy trial, and that he was being denied the right to bail.
Okay, let's take those first two main issues, shall we?
I did a considerable amount of research. I went online. I read the court documents regarding this with reference to the bail. Mr. Christy was never denied the right to bail. He was simply denied bail. And it's in the discretion of the court, and the court on 7 occasions, including the Ninth Circuit of the Appellate Court has upheld that the judge's discretion in terms of denying Mr. Christy bail because they believe that he's a threat to public safety. as to whether or not he's had a speedy trial. All of the delays and the continuances have been at the behest of Mr. Christy and his attorneys. The most recent of one, which was in August of 2012, where they were in court with one of the co-defendants, Mr. Bowie, and Mr. Christy. His attorneys were present in the courtroom, and Mr. Bowie petitioned the court for a continuance, and there were no objections expressed by Mr. Christy or his attorneys, and that set the case off to March 13th of 2013 for all pretrial motions to be filed. And from the March 13th date, the trial date was set for July of this year. There were 3 instances in the court records where, either because of an attorney change or one other motion or another, that the Christy attorney, with the acquiescence of Mr. Christy, requested from the court continuances. And so any delays in the trial have come basically the result of Mr. Christy's own behavior.
Okay, you sure about that?
Positive.
All right, now let's take it to another, and by the way, if we may be hearing from an attorney from Normal. I'm not sure. I got a phone call that might be possible. I'd like to hear from somebody who's an attorney. Not to say that being an attorney makes you better at actually doing your job, finding out the facts. In fact, I think a lot of attorneys' jobs are bending the facts. But be that as it may, okay? So let's say that indeed, we'll take this as an example. Let's say that indeed, all the continuances and the delays and the fact that he didn't get a speedy trial were at the behest or in the cooperation of the attorneys working for Roger Christy. Unfortunately, from what I understand, he's had 4 of them now or so.
Exactly, and each time that he has to petition the court for another attorney, the court is going to grant a continuance in the interest of justice.
Give time for the other attorney to get on board.
Absolutely, absolutely, and all of these continuances are granted in the interest of justice.
Okay, let's take the continuance issue out of the picture and say that indeed there has been no breaking of the law in his regard. He's been treated no different than anyone else. Because the other inference, obviously, is that there's a grudge against him for all these things he's done to be a thorn in their side, okay? And so let's go and take your, we'll use you as example, and we'll take it for what it is, at face value, supposedly, that he has indeed been a part of stretching the trial.
He has.
Now, stretching the trial is one thing, but it would be nice if you were out on bail during the stretching incident, correct? Now, being out on bail or not, help me, because I'm like the people out there, okay? I'm not supposed to be an expert on all this stuff. I said it yesterday, don't believe everything you read in the paper, don't believe everything you hear on this show. Okay, so my question is then, if the whole thing for him not being released is because he is a threat to society.
No, he presents a public safety problem.
Okay.
Not necessarily a threat to society, but a threat to public safety.
That's the technical jargon used in the paperwork. A threat to public safety, right?
Exactly.
And so I've had every senator that is involved, Slum, Ruderman, former mayor Harry Kim. I've had all kinds of people from all different organizations, whether they be
I understand
drug, all of them come in and say it's
a nice
laughable
guy,
that he's a threat,
violent,
that he's a danger to society, correct? Okay.
It's not a danger to society, it's a threat to public safety.
I beg your pardon, a threat to public safety.
Which is a rather generic term like national security.
Right.
Okay? It can have very, very nuanced meanings and far-reaching ramifications. And the definition of it can be extremely nebulous. The most important thing to keep in mind in all of this is that in the court has tremendous latitude and discretion in terms of its findings. And you have to keep in mind that there have been no less than 7 bail hearings for Mr. Christy. And at each one of these bail hearings, the initial determination of the court has been upheld.
That he is a threat to public safety. Now, isn't the argument can be easily laid at that point that, yeah, that's what's wrong with this picture, that that the idea that they can just decide perhaps that your belief in a God is a threat to public safety, or is it ambiguous? I mean, isn't it that the weak link in their lovely little keeping him in jail thing, the threat to public safety?
There is enough periphery evidence that exists that the case could be made. The initial raid garnered weapons. It garnered nearly 3,000 plants. And I think that the gist of it all is that once Christy was aware of this raid, that there was a subsequent raid, and in that subsequent raid they found that Mr. Christy was continuing. You have to remember too, there are also more than nearly 3,000 wiretaps involved with this Christy case.
Right.
And the information provided by the prosecutors was enough to convince the judge that Mr. Christy was not going to curtail what he had been doing, and he was going to proceed in the behaviors that brought him to the attention of the authorities. And this is where I think it lies, is that they're not going to just release this fellow and allow him to continue and pretty much make a political issue out of it and make a mockery of the law.
Okay, so then this is all coming from a fellow, Brent Kelsey, who is also completely thinks that the law is a mockery, but that's independent of the facts. Is that your point?
My point is the facts are the facts. Mr. Christy has spent this disproportionate amount of time in prison or in jail simply because he and his attorneys have drawn out this process and have asked for exclusions to the Federal Speedy Trial Act. And each time they ask, that tolls the clock on the Speedy Trial. Everyone's guaranteed under the Constitution, the Sixth Amendment, a right to a speedy trial. But once you begin to waive that right, it's difficult to ring the bell again and then compel prosecutors and judges and courts to get with the program.
I can see other courts upholding previous courts' rulings because it's at their discretion to deny him bail as a threat to public safety. Correct?
In these bail hearings, it would be incumbent upon the defense to prove the negative with a preponderance of evidence to show the court that the original findings of say Kobayashi or Chang in the original determination were erroneous. And apparently he's had 4 attorneys. Apparently his attorneys have not been skilled enough or can't amass the evidence in order to accomplish that.
All right, tell you what, no, I think I've got one on the line. We're going to let Bruce Margola stay right there for a minute, okay? Because, I don't know, this is a great way for him to hear the show. You get put on hold. And let us see if I've got the basics down, that if he is happen to be an attorney, he might be able to solve some of this and make it clear, or just agree or disagree, okay? First of all, the idea of the stretched out of his term in there without a trial has been his and his legal doing. He has been a part and parcel to why he's been there so long without a trial, correct?
Absolutely.
And then the idea of whether or not he's released on jail due to the fact that his bail is denied due to the fact, oh God, now I've got his wife calling me on the phone too, due to the fact that he is, he's a threat to society, which is at the court's discretion.
It's a threat to public safety.
I beg your pardon. The threat to public safety, and then of course, did you read on the court testimony that he was determined to be a threat because of weapons, or was it because he would begin selling marijuana or dispensing it or growing it, manufacturing it?
The court doesn't actually have to enunciate its rationale or its reasons. It doesn't extend beyond. I can recall Judge Kobayashi saying at one point that It was his behaviors after the initial raid, but it's predicated primarily on what it's not a pre-trial, it has nothing to do with a pre-trial type of report from a probation officer or anything. It's predicated on what evidence the prosecutor brings before the court. And apparently Judge Kobayashi believed the evidence that was brought to her by Nakamura.
The bottom line being, his civil rights have not been violated.
As far as I'm concerned,
based on the law from what you've seen.
Nothing I can see.
I tell you what, I'm going to introduce, I've got his wife, I've got Monica Wallace, and I've got Bruce Margola all lined up here. So I'm going to introduce each one of them before I go to traffic. When I come back, we can continue without a break in the middle of it. Would you mind putting these headphones on, Mr. Kelsey? Find a pair. Right, I'd say go there and make sure they're plugged in. There's a volume knob at the end of the line if you need it. Let's see, what do we got? Okay, I can hear that. Let's start at the top. Bruce Margola, who are you and where are you coming from? Where are you calling from, Bruce?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Who are you and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Los Angeles. My name is Bruce Margolin, M-A-R-G-O-L-I-N. I'm an attorney for 46 years practicing criminal defense, and I'm also the director of NORMAL, the National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws, since 1973 here in Los Angeles.
Okay, you're Los Angeles director of NORMAL, one of the most recognized reformation policy. You know, you guys are lobbying for it and whatnot.
Right.
And
for too many years.
And then are you a doctor or an attorney?
I'm an attorney. I'm a practicing lawyer. I've been in court every day for 46 years.
Okay, I'm stoked to have you on. Let me also we'll put everybody on at once. Who's this? Monica Wallace. Monica, aloha.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Oh, hi, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. This is Monica Wallach. We spoke on one of your earlier shows about Roger. I'm an attorney. I've been helping pro bono on the case, and I'm calling you from Holland.
Okay, hang right up there. I got two attorneys on this. Just stay. I hope you guys don't mind. Both Bruce and Monica. Monica, is this going to kick kick you in the credit card? Because I've got to get out to traffic. Can you handle that, or do you want to call me back and say 5 minutes?
No, I'm covered. I'm good. You go ahead.
And then I'd also like to introduce on the other line Christy. Aloha. Welcome back to the show. Roger Christie's wife and one of the defendants of the 14, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Aloha. Thank
okay,
you.
Guys. Excellent. I'm glad you're here. Of course, here we are with Brent Kelsey, the independent research analyst. It's probably just ready to get ran out of town on a pole with tar and feathers. Okay, so again, I like this that you guys are here because I'm really interested in getting to the bottom of this civil rights stuff and the length he spent in jail without a trial, and of course his threat to society. Is that right, Brent?
Public safety.
Threat to public safety. I got to go to traffic, gang. I beg your pardon on that. Here I go. Your solar guy, Jeff, headed out thanks to R&R Solar Supply, Hawaii's premier manufacturer of hot plate, thermal hot water collectors, and, of course, suppliers of all the photovoltaic you can swallow. Edible Hawaiian Islands, Gloria Cohen, 6-time winning quarterly magazine. This is Buy Local, Grow Local, Eat Local. I'd like to thank the Natural Energy Laboratory over in Kona. That's the state of Hawaii. Honolulu Weekly, I say support the weekly so we can have more than one newspaper. You gotta love that. Sabrina's Restaurant, The Bomb, Kanalea Ukulele, the guys who are going to fix my guitar lily since my friend stepped on it and broke it in half on Kauai. I'd like to thank the kind Hawaiian Legacy Hardwoods. This is The Bomb, gang. Sustainably replanting koa on the Big Island means you can make money at it. Instead of chopping them down, you make money planting them now, and you sustainably harvest them. Thank Tom Moffat Productions, Island Cooling, the Whitworth Brothers and the Whole House Attic Fan, UH Federal Credit Union, D.R. Horton Shore Homes, Blue Planet Foundation, Young Brothers. I'd like to thank, I'd say check out Ialoha Molokai, grassroots organization, and of course IES electrical solar contractors and installers. I'm your solar guy, Jeff. I shall return, and aloha.